And now I have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce a man who has been a friend and a brother to me for many, many years. Hereditary chiefphillanejr is an enrolled member of the Yankton, Dakota, and Chickasaw First Nations and the internationally recognized leader in human and community development. This man has been tirelessly serving the all by going to, it seems like every continent, you have been traveling and really leaving a legacy, Chief Phil. I know that you were an associate professor at the Faculty of Education at the University of Lethbridge in Alberta, Canada, and you've been working with many elders across North America, South America, Central America, all over Europe, and really touching the lives of so many people with your wisdom and your teachings, and bringing us back to that awareness of our oneness and where we all fit in this prophecy as one human family. So thank you, Chief Phil, for being with us today.
Yes. Well, thank you, dear sister, for always having the most wonderful, uplifting words to say about everyone and our human family. I really appreciate it very much, and appreciate very much the good work you're doing, as well as DisclosureFest and our dear brother Adrian and all the great work DisclosureFest is doing. So it's really a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Yes, Adrian has been a catalyst for change and all the different initiatives DisclosureFest Foundation is bringing through with Feeding Our Souls initiative and the Clean Air initiative and the Beach and River Cleanup initiative. And you'd probably love the Starseed initiative for our children, going into the schools, teaching yoga and meditation and Jedi basketball. And this year, we launched the Every Elder Initiative, really listening to our elders that have so much to share with us, that the elders and the children are our teachers. And I know you talk about that. So I'd really like to hear, what is it when you put your finger on the pulse of where we are right now in this now moment today, what is it that you're feeling that the whole nation needs to hear, the whole world needs to hear?
Well, I think if we really carefully listen, on one hand, we can hear the death cries of an old dying away, the old paradigm, the old belief system that, in fact, this world was just about material things, and that once we achieved material, physical power in all its dimensions, and somehow that would bring us true happiness, versus the understanding that we are spiritual as well as physical beings, and that this is so important because if we look at our purpose here, at our lives, and if we believe somehow our purpose is to acquire things physically, whether it be spending millions of dollars about how I physically look, I mean, I can spend all the millions and millions I want to, when you get to be 76 winners, give me a break. I mean, you can do all those things to me, but I'm still 76 winners, and you know I'm 76 winners. I don't care about how my lips look or my face looks or whatever. So the idea here is that we want to leave this world happy and joyful beings. Okay. So where we're at this time is, as I believe, on the one hand, as I shared, we can hear the death cries of the old dying away, but I hear the birth cries of the new. I hear it everywhere. Everywhere. This new springtime is arising. This new spiritual springtime is happening everywhere. And, now I'm sure some people think, this little man must be crazy. But if you think about it, everything moves, like they say, in a cycle. And the elders told us, this long winter time would be. 500 years, shorter for some, longer for others. But about 500 years this wintertime would last. And then this new spiritual springtime would come. You can imagine if you only knew the world as this white wintertime. Everything's white. The rivers are all frozen over. And this is your world. This is all you think the world is, this white world of snow, of cold. Instead, then all of a sudden, that first spring storm comes. Wind comes. Warm winds come. Rains come. Like this. All of a sudden, my world. All of a sudden, I look around. Wow, what happened? My world is brown. My world's green. My world's, wow, what's happening? The end of the world. Not the end of the world, beginning of the springtime. But I think that in prophetic sense, why this is such an incredible time, because we've had prophecies that have told about many, in fact, all events throughout history. But this one, I think, really, I love how it's called, is the day that shall not be followed by night. So if we think about it, and you've heard me speak about how I've used the example of our purpose. What's our purpose here in this life? And I utilize the obvious, purpose we had to have in the womb when we were born into this physical plane of existence of time and space. And it's so beautiful to see they've actually filmed this now, and this light goes. Now, I want to say that this is my personal belief, and shared by many, many other elders and other relatives, is that when we are conceived, that we are born sovereignties, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. Everlasting, ancient, imperishable. We are each a drop from the universal sea of consciousness, literally, each of us. So in terms of this physical plane of existence, yes, we can die away from this physical plane of existence because we are really in this earth suit, just kind of a piece of earth walking around. But in terms of our souls never die.
Thank you.
They are sovereignties, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. And the thing to remember is everything, like memory, reason, abstract thought, creativeness, inventiveness, memory, willpower, and so many other dimensions are properties of the soul, not the body. Are properties of the soul, not the body. Now, those qualities like abstract thought, that's how we look at things, or how we abstractly look at things. All these different dimensions are spiritual dimensions of us. Now, certainly, in order for us to be able to mediate our experience in this physical world in which we exist, we obviously need these physical senses because they enable us to safely as possible travel through this world. And of course, now if you think about it, when we are conceived, we are so microscopic to think about it. But inside this very microscopic, tiny sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting, that's you and me and everybody else, is everything that we have ever experienced in our lineages since the beginning of time. Everything since the beginning of time is there within this process. Everything is in this.
That's such a vast explanation. Whew.
Yeah, it's there.
It is.
And so here we are unfolding here in this plane of existence. But how did we prepare ourselves in the womb? Well, of course, inside the womb, we grew our arms and legs and eyes and ears and everything we needed for this physical plane of existence. Now, obviously, to anyone around our mothers, They knew we were getting ready to come into this world in the last few months before we arrived.
Right.
They knew. I mean, if your parents are a really famous person, they put it on social media, and many people know. Millions could know.
Very true.
Prince so-and-so is going to arrive, right? So, but the thing to remember is that with that coming of life, the conception, that life is forever, forever, forever. And that's when I counsel, sometimes have young nieces come or relatives come and they've aborted a child and they feel so terribly about this abortion. And I say, I understand, it's something that you want to really come to the Creator. The Creator is the ever forgiving. Always remember this, the ever forgiving. But this is a very important thing when we contemplate life. But also know this: what has been given life by the Creator can never be destroyed. Now, how you relate to that or how you feel about that, you need to work through that and really turn to the Creator, because it's the Creator's forgiveness that is the ever forgiving. The Creator is the ever forgiving. But in terms of that being, that sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, everlasting, that being is in this plane of in this world of many worlds, so to speak. So anyway, here we are growing our arms and legs and eyes and ears. We couldn't, eat or couldn't drink because we're in an amniotic fluid. We drowned. And we were actually using these things we're developing, like our lungs or our mouth. And really, we have no really use for the eyes there. Now we did understand, and certainly I'm sure more than culture than just the Ihanktonwans and others did understand that prior to coming to this world, children were babies were sensitive to sound, so songs, and also mothers were encouraged to touch things that were very soft, to expose yourself to beautiful sounds of birds, anything that would influence that child's within the womb, that because as that child begins to prepare itself to come here. Now, again, I've been there present, and all I can say is I have just my great respect and love for all mothers and my mothers who brought me forth through childbirth, because I know it's not some kind of just how do I say it? Well, of course, we talk about the joyful thing of having the baby, but the process, obviously, is one of the reasons I'm glad I'm a man, among others. But anyway, and I'm sure there's just as many good reasons to be happy you're a woman, or combinations, or however we are in this world. I care less about that part.
The strength of a woman. Yes.
Exactly. But in that particular situation, and yet, so here we are. We come to this world, all of a sudden, have that kind of proverbial slap in the back. All of a sudden, all those things which I was prepared for come into use. My lungs, I begin to even see. My little son Tiger, when he came out, I'll never forget, he just kind of looked around like this. There was no sign he'd been through a tough journey, whatever. He just kind of looked around like this. But that's that being, that's the soul looking out there. And, that soul contains all those things we're talking about. Now, another interesting thing is that in the spiritual worlds, we recognize each other, the spiritual qualities we have. For instance, we can become attracted to, let's say, abstract thought. And so if somebody has abstract thinking like ours, we are attracted to that abstract thinking, or creativeness, or inventiveness, or these kinds of things. Just those kinds of things really are so helpful in terms of being able to see in one another here in this world, you see, because we know this in terms of the medicine wheel. Let's look at the medicine wheel, all those qualities. Okay, we know the mind, the intellect. That's a quality of the mind, yes. But the memory, that capacity of abstract thinking, all the mind does is a property of the soul as well, the soul. Okay. So there's that dimension. Okay, then there's the dimension of feelings, emotions. Emotions. Now, emotions certainly have a role to play in this process, and it's interesting to know that memories are emotionally coded. So memory plays a big role in this. And then you have the biological part of me, the physical part of me, which really is here temporarily. I mean, the fact is, this
It goes by in
physical,
the blink of an eye,
it
right?
is, right.
It does.
It's like the breath of a buffalo on a cold day, in a way, life like that. So there's the physical, and then we talked about the emotional, the middle, and then there's spiritual dimension, which, is that dimension that goes beyond time and space and connects us all. It's that spiritual dimension that contains and is, in another way, a reflection of the soul. The soul.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
One of the things that when you bring us back into the eternal remembrance of who we are as souls walking the earth plane, one of the things that I'm feeling into these days is how so many people are not really knowing where to turn, because they're getting bombarded. We are getting bombarded with other people's projections of their own truth, let's say. But when we come back into that knowing of who we are as a soul, and that every person that we're witnessing is another piece, an aspect of that, their own soul essence that connects to the greater soul essence, creator, creation, all that is. What is your advice for how we navigate that path in today as we're seeing chaos and struggle and strife playing out? What is it that we can each do to do our part to calm things, to bring more joy to the planet?
Right. Well, first of all, I think we have to be able to know that we are, each one of us, the spiritual representatives of all that have gone before us.
Yeah.
Every single relative who is not in this physical plane of existence, my mother and father, going on back, on to the beginning of time, where we find this oneness, where we are one. We came from the same cloud of blood, so to speak. That all this, and you're sitting here, we are all those that have gone before us right here speaking together right now. That's so important to remember. I'm speaking to you, not just me, but there's more here than me.
Yes.
There's more here than me. Because, as I shared, did I say death? There's no death, just a change of worlds. And so all those who we represent spiritually are here as well.
And you always honor the ancestors so beautifully. I always listen to your teachings and hear how respectful you are of honoring your mother, your father, your lineage, and how you got to this physical incarnation, and then extending that out and honoring all life around you with you have your hands in so many different areas. I'm watching you. I can't keep up with you, actually. You're on every Zoom call. You're working with so many different organizations and groups of people that are focused on bringing about positive change for the planet, whether it's through, with the environmentally conscious people that you're dealing with that are talking about regeneration practices, to the healers that you work with that are talking about healing our physical bodies and our emotional bodies and healing the wounds from our childhood, to the people who are, looking at new ways to govern ourselves, new forms of money. All of these new systems are it feels like you are the elder that is helping to birth this new world, because you are working with so many people, all different age levels. I love seeing you work with so many of the youth, like Chickasaw with the Earth Guardians. I think Chickasaw, what is he? Did he finally make his 19th birthday? He might be 18, 19 now.
Yes.
And I know
I
you've
think he's
been,
moving into his 20s now.
is he in his
That's how
20s?
fast that's gone so quickly. I
I
remember
just,
meeting him back down and meeting him in Rio in 2012. This young person, who had this deep desire to serve the earth. And now we can see him. We can see Lila June Johnson. We can see so many backgrounds who are rising as prophesied as part of the seventh generation, who are now more than 50% of the world's population. And I mean, in a sense of that's life, I'm 76 winters. That's not, that many winters really. There's many up there around 80 winters, 90 winters, 100 winters. And I guess we can even go farther. But the thing is on the other hand, is that really, I think my generation has to really to accept the fact too that we have really been responsible for one heck of a lot of this mess that's going on right now, and generations older than me, and the ones calling pretty close to me. That's the fact. That now that doesn't mean that we didn't do the best we could, but to be honest, you look at this thing and say, just a minute here, we've got to take some action now. This is not, and that's why I was saying, I think it gets down to first of all, the fundamental thing for us to understand that each one of us is there's just one human family. We're all related. Scientifically, biologically, I was just at a meeting in Lexington, Kentucky, with some of the top physicians in the world. And we were discussing this. And the fact is that whether we like it or not, 99.9% of our genetic makeup is exactly the same. The rest in those kind of more secondary aspects, we're different, of course, unique as well. Now, I want to go even say further than that, is that this being a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting, that every one of us is unique. There'll never, ever be another Michelle Anderson ever, 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 ever in history. Now, there'll be people that may have qualities like Michelle Anderson, but just like every single grain in every granary in the world, it's different, unique. It has its own uniqueness, its own oneness. So does every pebble on the beach has its own oneness. Each one of us is unique, a unique being, unique. And also we're here just at the right time, just the right time. Because really part of this is really this thing we're doing right here. Is everybody visiting here. All we have to do is look at each other and say, my relative, I'm going to give you a big hug, and let's set this. Let's just not fight anymore here. Let's stand on the strengths we have. Let's move the positive alternative we wish to create, without giving our energy fighting the negative. And I think what's going to happen, sister, as I see it, we are promoting these life-preserving, life-enhancing values. And I think of all the wonderful people who are involved in DisclosureFest, and all the elders who are doing everything in their best way to do things in a good way. And so we're going to have a chance to you might say, provide people with a choice here. The choice is we can continue, if you wish, to go further and further down the path of conflict and tearing each other to pieces, and undermining each other, and mistrust and backbiting, all this stuff. Let's go right on down there. Now, that's our choice. We've been given that sacred gift by the Creator. We can make a choice. There it is. Or we can make the decision that suffering has gone on long enough. And we can make a decision that, that's not my path. And I don't want to give any energy to it. I want to wage peace, not war. War is the number one destroyer of climate balance, human balance, all kinds of balance. And that's why, you know, one of the things we're calling for, and what we hope that others will join us, and I hope Disclosure Fest does, is we're thinking between the 16th and the 22nd of December to call this the week of world peace. And we're, you know, here's the thought about it. We're kind of consulting. This is the union, the condor, the quetzal, and the eagle. And we're talking about this with may peace prevail on earth and others. Because what we're thinking is, you know, somehow or another, and it's understandable, a lot of relatives don't believe that peace is possible. They don't believe that's our nature. We're just by nature adversarial. But it's like we have to fight. You know, that's how we are. It's our nature. But we believe that we're coming now to the point where we're coming to the actual beginning of our spiritual adulthood on this planet.
Mm.
We're coming to, in this universe. Our spiritual adulthood is rising now, and this is what's happening. And for us to do that, it means this coming together and demonstrating it's possible. Unprecedented unified action. So we're saying, okay, what does world peace look like? Well, world peace looks like what's happening in the classrooms or what's happening at home. How about family violence? Can we reduce that some? But what can we do together for just this period of time to in every way we can to create around us in the nicest way a peaceful world. Maybe we say, okay, for this week, you know, I'm going to give animals a break. You know, maybe this week I'm going to go and say, okay, my vegetarian relatives have been saying, you know, if we look in these ways that animals are being treated, you know, and they really are being treated. I mean, you look at these places, oh my gosh, the horror. Can you imagine? And we know they have these relatives have senses just like we do. You know, they feel just like we do. You know, the pain and just the terror. And then we sit eat all that anyway, you know. It's crazy.
And that's why Disclosure Fest is a vegan festival.
Exactly.
We're bringing people into the awareness of our connection with the animals and having compassion for the animals as
Yeah.
well. You know, Brother Phil, on my social media Facebook feed, a memory came up the other day of you and I together at the Unify Festival 4 years ago. And I remember you asking me to assist you at that festival. And my soul knew that was my mission in that moment when you placed that trust in me that I was the one to help you in that moment. I remember saying to my husband, I feel like I was born on a mission, and this is part of that mission. And if I don't complete this, I don't even think that I can keep breathing in this human skin
Mhm.
because I know I'm supposed to be there with
Yeah.
Chief Phil at the Unify event. And it was an election year 4 years ago. And for some, you know, my soul was really feeling like we need to gather together with people that we can feel that soul essence, that people are starting to become awake and
Mhm.
realize that part of what we've been living is a dream because we haven't been thinking, critically thinking, or being independently thinking. We've kind of fallen asleep, many of us. And now so many people are waking up and realizing our connection with all that is. And 4 years ago, I think Shattescott back then was maybe 17 years old. And he's a brilliant youth who at 14 presented to the United Nations and created a lawsuit against our government for defamation of the earth. And he's a brilliant young man. And I saw the two of you together on that stage. And it gives me goosebumps right now just to remember that time, remembering that we knew that something was coming and we needed to jump in and be together and be modeling these traits that you're talking about, these values of remembering our soul essence and our mission to be kind to one another and respectful, and also to be enjoy. You laugh a lot and you make me laugh a lot. And that laughter pulsing out into the collective field is raising the vibration and helping us to lift our vibration to get through these times. And I really feel that what you're doing, placing this in our field of awareness, that you want to come into a week of world peace, December 16th through the 22nd. That's during the winter equinox. We know that we just experienced the autumn equinox. This is the winter solstice. I'm sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up. But going into the winter solstice, the ancient ones have taught us how important these seasonal changes are. And you have taught so many about coming into right alignment during these gateways, these windows of opportunity. So I will encourage our viewers to, are you collaborating with May Peace Prevail on Earth? That's an organization, May Peace Prevail on Earth.
Yes.
I see your peace pole behind you in the Dakota language that says May Peace Prevail on Earth in the Dakota language.
Yes.
This is awesome. Love this. And every person can purchase one of those peace poles. They're just going to May Peace Prevail on Earth to their website. They're doing phenomenal things to bring about peace on Earth. And we've had Fumi John Stewart on Awakening Code Radio. She's a dear sister of mine. I know she's a sister of yours. These are the things that I think many of our viewers are really thirsty for, these original teachings of our Indigenous leaders that are helping us to remember that eternal essence of ourselves and the honoring of the land and the waters and honoring of all life, our relatives, our ancestors, our children, and how to walk in beauty, how to walk in prayer. This is what's coming back through your teachings. And I am so grateful to you, Brother Phil, for doing all that you're doing with so many organizations. Where can people find you? What's the best way for people to find you if they want to connect with what you're doing? If you even get it listed, because you're doing so much.
Yes. I would say the best way to reach me on email is 4worldscircles. 4worldscircles@gmail.com. 4worldscircles@gmail.com.
4worldscircles@gmail.com is to reach you by
Right.
email.
Right.
And you also do a
Yeah,
lot of
yes,
posting.
yes, and we, of course, I'm on Facebook, and we have our Four Worlds International Institute there, and Walking the Red Road is another one of our pages. We have quite a few pages there, and we're just now, we've been working on a new website. We're kind of excited about, and so we have our older website, which is FWII.net. FWII.net. Excuse me, FWII.net.
That's
And so
Four
we'll
Worlds
be,
International.
so whoever's there, we'll be inviting them to come over to our new website.
Wonderful. Well, it's always a pleasure to sink in with you, and I love thinking that even though we're doing all of this over Zoom and getting it out in a virtual way, I can feel the energy of all of our viewers tuning in and being enlivened and uplifted and calmed by the wisdom that you shared with us today. And I'm so grateful and so appreciative of all the work that you're doing. It's like sitting at your feet, the feet of a teacher who's bringing us into more awareness, more alignment, helping us find our soul missions and our purpose.
Maybe I can, sisters, is I'll share a prayer to close, if I may.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
O Creator of the universe, most beloved one, all powerful one, most kind one, most compassionate one, ever forgiving one, most kind one, most compassionate one, O Ancient of Days, O most ancient one, O most beauteous one, O most great beauty, O ever abiding one, we call upon your holy power at this time. And I ask from the very bottom of our souls, our hearts, the inmost chambers of our hearts, you might reveal fully the sun of reality. It might blaze in our hearts and minds and illumine us into understanding our oneness and our prior oneness in unity as a human family. And to understand the hurt of one is the hurt of all. We ask for awakening to happen with ourselves and our relatives and all our loved ones. And particularly we ask for our animal relatives, all those, anyone who does not have a voice is in pain, for that pain to be able to be released, to be able to find a pathway of peacefulness and happiness and joy and thankfulness and healing in relationship to all living things, including ourselves. And we just give thanksgiving at this time. Thank you, my dear sister Michelle, DisclosureFest, all the good work they're doing, each and every one of our relatives there. And we ask that we might have a most wondrous fall moving into this beautiful, beautiful winter, and that during this time, the 16th through the 22nd of December 2020, we might experience some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful spiritual and physical signs and manifestations of the power of peace, the power of the Creator, the power of this day we live in. It shall not be followed by night. Hallelujah. Chante washtelo, shunk mano he meyodo, chinupasapa he meyodo, hallelujah. Chante washte.
Wopida. Wopida.
Wopida.
Thank you. Thank you. You taught me. Oh, well, thank you so much.